What's up? What's happening? Happy Monday, one and all. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. We're also on YouTube at the Team 980. That there, swell-looking gentleman, it's Anthony Haney, producer of the show. I'm Craig Hoffman. Despite the fact that I have barely been on this show for the last 3 weeks, I still do host it. Today on the show, Commanders released their unofficial depth chart. We will get into that in just a few moments. We also have our friend Kaylin Kaler back again as there is more news out of the NFLPA. Her and Don Van Natta have been all over that. And we'll also eventually we'll stop down and just kind of catch up because I haven't been on the show a ton. And then Friday, there was a billion things happening and we didn't have time to do a lot other than just the news. And so we did the news, and today we'll get to catch up with our old pals, Craig and Anthony. So we'll get to that later on in the show. But Anthony, the first unofficial depth chart is out for the Washington Commanders. By the way, also Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Witt Jr. spoke today. So pick 6 at 6 is coming to get you caught up on that. But the depth chart is out. I'll ask you first. Did you find anything particularly interesting about the unofficial depth chart that every reporter and team official loves to remind you is very unofficial?
I mean, the first thing I saw was at right tackle, it said Andrew Wiley or Josh Connolly Jr. And I've never seen an or. Never seen that.
They do them. And in fact, on teams that you care about, there is another or. I don't know. I guess you didn't see this. The Colts have an or at quarterback. Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones.
That is so crazy. I have not seen that. But I'm glad you pointed it out.
Every once in a while, you get an or. Yeah, that one stood out to me and is a little bit surprising. The other first thing that I kind of, looked at was what do they do with Terry? And they didn't futz around with that. They put him at wide receiver 1. Correct. I think that's the obvious thing that you got to do. Yep. So he's at wide receiver 1. And beyond that, there's not a lot of intriguing stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about the running back situation in a few, but that's just a loaded position room. The Connerly Wiley thing is interesting. And this is why unofficial depth chart, it's important to point out the unofficialness. It's also first. We haven't even played a preseason game yet. That will matter, especially for a guy like Josh Connolly. He has struggled at times in practice and looked like a rookie, but if all of a sudden it clicks a little bit more in a game, and you're like, oh, we got a little bit more here. But it also doesn't really, the way they do their depth chart, there's no cross-pollination of positions. So it says Josh Connolly or Andrew Wiley. Then at right guard, it's got Sam Cosmi in brackets to say he's currently unavailable due to injury, but the backup is Nick Allegretti. But there's no way to say that maybe Andrew Wiley could start at right guard while they wait for Cosmi, and Connerly could start at right tackle. So it is useful information because I do think you learn a little bit more, ever so slightly more, about who the coaches think is they have to put it in some order, right? They don't spend a ton of time on it. Mostly they might have a PR staffer do it and then double check it. I don't know how Dan Quinn does it. I've definitely heard of that happening before, but it has to be done. It also is an inflexible, incomplete document, both in that it's unofficial and there's not too much to read into it. And we still have over half of training camp and the entire preseason to go before they name an official depth chart. And even an official depth chart only tells us so much because the difference between wide receiver 3 and 4 in terms of reps on some teams is going to be very different than others.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I will say, though, when it comes to even looking at the running back position, that one was a position that also caught my eye. A little weird considering what we've seen at camp or just heard from camp, I guess, how Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has, been one of the favorites at camp, and yet he's a fifth string right now on the unofficial. So again, like, we'll see what happens when the next one comes out, but I wouldn't put too much stock into it.
No, so let's talk about that because I think that's an interesting one, and we can take calls on anybody who's seen this depth chart. In fact, we can go through the whole thing if we want to next, but that's kind of the big one that I think people are going to hullabaloo about is Ja'Cory Krosky-Mayer. You've heard all these great things. Oh, Bill's killing it. He's doing this. He's doing that. Is he the best running back on the team? And then all of a sudden this unofficial depth chart comes out, and he's fifth string behind Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez. I think it's important to remember those are four guys that have played real NFL football at a decently high level in at least spurts. Like Chris Rodriguez has had really nice moments. Jeremy McNichols had a bunch of clutch play for this team last year. You have obviously Eckler, who's been excellent over the course of his career in a multitude of different roles, including, as good as he's been last year, even though it was a smaller role than anything he had in San Diego/LA. But you add that to Brian Robinson, who's a bona fide NFL starter, and like playing running back in training camp should only be able to get you so far. I think what it's gotten him is a ton of opportunity in the preseason to potentially, turn heads or say like whatever. But I don't think that you can possibly, like, for instance, you sent me the clip from the Junks this morning, which is up on our Instagram page at the Team 980. And the guys had, I thought, was a good discussion to talk about, like, well, when Terry McLaurin was a known commodity as a third-round pick, Jay Gruden didn't even play him in the preseason. Could they do that with Bill? And had I been there, which I'm not, I host in the afternoon. They can do the morning shift just fine. They've been doing it for 30 years, and I don't need to get up that early. But my response would be running back is very different. A receiver, you can tell in training camp, like, yeah, that was a catch or it wasn't. Like, that was a big play. He got over the top or he didn't. Like, in training camp, you don't tackle to the ground. And so some of these runs that look like really great runs might be stuffs at the line of scrimmage because Daron Payne, gives Bill a little love tap instead of tackling him, or Javon Kinlaw, is right there and Bill does this juke cut because Kinlaw doesn't even try to tackle him, that in real life just would have gotten him swallowed whole for a loss of -2. And so it's not until the preseason until we really understand. Like, we're pretty sure he's having a good training camp. Relative to the other backs, he seems to be having a good training camp. But one, I don't think any of those other backs are having bad training camps, and they've got a lot more of a resume to stand on. And two, because of the nature of the position and the current operating rules of NFL practices where nobody tackles to the ground, it would be very silly to just assume, oh, we've got a hidden gem, we've got a Hall of Famer, we've got a Pro Bowler at running back just because we want to, and a running back is performing well in training camp. Running backs always look good in training camp. That's the nature of the position when you're not allowed to tackle. So I'm not saying that, like, the Bill hype train is not worthy of having some gas in it, that there isn't a really good football player potentially there. What I am saying is we cannot possibly concrete know that yet because he hasn't played a snap of NFL football, and currently he's listed behind four guys that have, and that's not surprising to me, especially when this is a staff that puts a premium on guys earning it.
Yeah, I think that was about to be my point. I think when we talk about competition and this regime and Dan Quinn, that's what they love to talk about. So anointing Bill, RB3 right off the rip without him having played a preseason game, haven't done any joint practices, will be a little bit premature. And I think even if you look at, the situation last year with Coleman and, him rotating and things of that nature, I think that's sort of kind of what they would want to do with Bill. Even though we haven't seen that at corner, though, because we haven't got to the defensive side of the ball yet, and I guess we can next. But I think just off the competition alone, I think it would just be too premature to anoint Bill that RB3 role until we've seen more.
100%. And again, like, is there a chance they could make a trade and, like, ship out Brian Robinson and in part because they believe in Bill? But yeah, but like also Chris Rodriguez might be the best pure runner on the team. So what do you do with him? It's like they got hard decisions to make at that position. And Bill, because he's the youngest and a draftee and all that kind of stuff, I think has an upper hand. But it is important to remember that like he hasn't actually played football yet. But like you did mention, I'm glad you went there because that's where I wanted to go next too. There is a rookie who is the undisputed number one line on the depth chart, the unofficial. There, you happy everyone in Ashburn? Unofficial depth chart. We'll tell you who if you haven't figured it out by process of elimination next on the Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. Just in scrolling Instagram in the break, Anthony, and saw Dan Orlovsky, who I love, who's been on the show, known Dan a long time, ranting about Terry McLaurin's contract. And it's just, we'll get to the defensive depth chart thing in a second. But if you hear anyone on television or radio or any of your friends go, "What's wrong? Just pay him," I want you to tell them that they are banned from talking about football for at least a day, like 24-hour timeout. Because, like, what do you mean by this? Is what Dan Orlovsky's quote on First Take was, This is one of the dumbest situations that's happened recently in the National Football League. What do you want him to do? Overpay him by $10 million based on the market? If he's asking for more than DK Metcalf and Cortland Sutton just got 23, and I think he's worth more than Cortland Sutton. Again, I've been on the record from go. I would pay Terry $30 million a year, understanding that functionally it's going to be less than that because this is just like DK's is not real 33. Terry's ain't going to be real 30, but I would give him that honor of being a $30 million receiver, understanding that the last year of the contract is non-guaranteed and inflated. But what do you, like, you just pay him whatever he wants, whatever, who cares? Just get it. Like, what are you actually saying? Hey, do you want to do a quick exchange? I'll give you a piece of art. Okay, cool. Draw me something. Okay, it'll be $1,000. You just said you wanted to do a deal. No, that's not worth $1,000. Okay. Oh, I want $1,000. Do you want to deal it or not? Pay me up. Get it. Like, no. That's not how this works. So if anybody in your life said, Anthony, how many conversations have you had with friends about this? I'm sure a billion.
Too many.
And what do they say? They probably, I don't get it. Just get a deal done.
Yep. Just pay him. Just give him whatever he wants. I'm just like, it's not that simple.
It's not. Well, you want to overpay by, let's even say overpay by $5 million a year. Well, no. They don't want their GM to do that. They don't want Adam Peters to do that. Oh, I trust Adam, but like, get a deal done, bro. If I offer you X and you say no, and you're like, I want X plus 5, and I go, no, and neither of us budges, there's no way to get a deal done. Like, yes, eventually you probably are going to land at X plus 2.5 because that's in the middle, or X plus 2 or X plus 3, but it's not as simple as just, okay, I want this. No, but I really want it. Okay, deal done. Shake hands. Happy. It's not how it works. So stop, especially if you're like really, really smart about football and talk about it for a living on television. Stop doing that. And again, if you have friends who are doing that, slap their hand. As long as it's not going to get you punched in the face. We don't endorse violence. It's a playful slap of the hand and a talking ban for 24 hours.
I'm not going to lie, Craig. I think Terry McLaurin's contract situation has led probably First Take the last week and a half or so.
They had to do Micah this morning.
I mean, they did Micah too. They did both.
They got plenty of time and not a lot of creativity on that show. Yeah. Play the hits, baby. Play the hits. You know what the Commanders are going to do on defense this year?
What are they going to do?
They're going to play Trey Amos at corner.
Yes, sir.
Remember after the draft when when Adam Peters was like, yeah, if we hadn't had Josh Connerly at 29, one of the next guys we would have taken is Trey Amos. I believe it. I believed it then. I believe it now. He is not only on the top line of the depth chart, the unofficial depth chart that came out earlier this afternoon, but he is also actually taking all the reps with the ones. Like, it is him and it is Marshawn Lattimore and it is Mike Sainer still in the slot. Multiple time Super Bowl champion Jonathan Jones is backing up Sainer still in the slot. He'll cross train outside. Mikey will cross train outside. But it really is Trey Amos's job. And I don't want to say like Trey Amos's job to lose. Like, it's Trey Amos's job out there at outside corner opposite of Marshawn Lattimore. And Anthony, I haven't had a chance because of all my traveling. And then now the team is traveling and they're headed up to New England for a joint practice. I haven't had a chance to go out to practice. I was obviously out there this spring. But in talking to Logan for Take Command and the limited amount that I've talked to you and Linnell and other folks that have been out there, and obviously I'm reading everybody's work as well, it really does seem like the secondary is way better than people anticipated. And, Linnell and I talked about this a lot this summer where, we were talking about the floor is potentially really low, but I actually thought the ceiling was pretty high. It's just how likely was it to reach that? It feels like they're figuring some stuff out. And it all could still fall apart. It's easy. It's training camp. Defense typically starts ahead of the offense. Terry's not there, so how limited is the weaponry on the offense for the Commanders? Zach Ertz is still making a million plays, so it's like, well, but it does feel like with Amos being legit that this secondary is suddenly a strength. And I think the other part of it too that's really encouraging is there seems to be a lot of options. Like at corner, it's still Lattimore, Amos on the outside, kind of or bust. Noah's had a nice camp, but doing more stuff in the slot, whatever. But with the Tyler Owenses, with Kane Medrano and Dominique Hampton at linebacker, like it just seems like there's a lot of different guys that have gotten reps with the ones that gives them nickel and dime and Buffalo nickel and all these different options to match different personnel groups around the NFL.
Yeah, I think definitely going back to the offseason, we had a discussion about the potential for the Commanders' secondary to be better than that of the pass rush, or I think it was the confidence level, like which one you was a little bit more confident in. But, yeah, looking at practice, being out there, seeing how, physical Trey Amos is, it could be really, good for us. And then also with Mikey, him in the slot, going against Debo, iron sharpening iron, like that's been a great battle. And then Marshawn, again, like he's got his fair share of like vet days, but when he has been out there, he looks like the old explosive Marshawn. So again, like I'm in a good place and confidence level in this secondary. And I think if the pass coverage is good, I think it's only going to strengthen the pass rush kind of thing.
For sure. I still think that they're thin. Like, that's the one concern, right? Mm-hmm. On the outside, they've got Jones listed as the backup to Amos. Carlin Vigors he's made plays good and bad in camp. He's an undrafted free agent. And then they've also got Bobby Price, Kevon Seymour, who's, I know impressed a lot, but I think more inside, even though he's playing some outside too. Noah. So, like, I'm intrigued by that group, but definitely Lattimore, Amos, Sainer still staying healthy, along with the collection of safeties they've got, is the best version of that. Elsewise on the defensive side on this unofficial depth chart, defensive line, Dietrich Wise listed as defensive end 1. No surprise there. Dorrance Armstrong on the other side. Kinlaw and Payne with Goldman and Newton backing up. Day and Davis behind them. We'll see if either one of those makes the team. I have a hard time seeing it, but it could be possible. Cleveland Ferrell ahead of Javonte Jean-Baptiste for now. But I do think that's probably how it goes. I know Logan's been impressed with Cleveland in camp, his ability to edge set. He wasn't healthy for a lot of last year. And I think I have to get some of that bad tape out of my head because he was good earlier in the season. Jalen Holmes, to me, is the guy that's right on the bubble that's interesting to watch. He's listed as the second defensive end behind Dorrance Armstrong on that side. So, defensive end 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it. I guess he could be 5. But listed on the second row of the depth chart. And then I think the other interesting thing up front is Von Miller is listed as an outside linebacker, which I would have anticipated. That's how they signed him. That's what Dorrance Armstrong did last year. But they also have Jacob Martin at outside linebacker as well. And so will they wind up just like take the first 2 columns of this depth chart, and is that the team? Up front, Wise, Furl, Payne, Goldman, Kinlaw, Newton, Armstrong, Holmes, Miller, Martin. I think when Logan and I did our 53, we subbed out Holmes for Jean-Baptiste. That feels correct. But more or less, that feels like the group up front there. And that's...
Is that 10 or 11?
That would be 10. That would be 10. And then, which is probably about as many as you can keep because... And then you're hoping that like a Jalen Holmes can get to practice squad, and Andre Jones Jr. can get to practice squad. Sheldon Day and Carl Davis, one of them is a vet inside, can get to practice squad. Because you need the space, like Wagner, McGee, Luvu, Ballore, Medrano, Hampton at linebacker. Ballore staying, of course, because of special teams. But can you keep Hampton and Medrano? That's going to be really tough. And then all the DBs that we mentioned were, really they've got 7 safeties that could make the team. They're not going to. It'll probably be 5. Ben Nickel and Rob McDaniel probably headed to practice squad. But, like, Logan's been very impressed with those guys. And so I think that's going to be definitely interesting to watch as well. On the kick return, punt return front, They've got Eckler and McCaffrey listed, which I think is only interesting because it feels like Eckler and Debo have been doing that from all the camp reporting. So they're kind of keeping the Debo kick return thing secret, even though people are talking about it. And it also sounds like Matt Gay's had a really good camp, hit a couple 50-yarders today. I saw Grant tweeting that out. So good, hopefully a simple special teams year where the excitement comes for good reasons, not bad ones.
Do you want Eckler back there, though?
If he's comfortable
Granted,
with it, yeah.
he was really dynamic.
He was awesome last year.
In his role, it was just, sustaining injuries or concussions.
Yeah, I mean, that concussion was nasty. But I want him back there if he's up for it. If he's like, I don't want to go through that again. He's too valuable to the offense. I can make an argument either way.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you want to say Jalen, Lane, and Debo, like, I'm fine with that. Lane only listed in the punt return category. If you want to put Luke and Debo back there, like, you're definitely losing something, but like Luke did a fine job. So I can make an argument for any of those guys. But Eckler's probably your best option. And it is kind of that extended running play. So that's probably worth mentioning. All right, when we get back, phone calls on the depth chart. 301-230-0980. I think we got a couple that are starting to line up. 301-230-0980. Plus, Cliff Kingsbury talked about where he wants to see Jaden Daniels improve in year 2. Where do you want to see Jaden improve in year 2? Hard when a guy was MVP caliber last year. We'll talk about it all next. 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. Coming up at 5 o'clock, the latest from the NFLPA's mess and cleanup on aisle mess. Kalen Kaler talks about David White, the new executive director, on an interim basis for the NFL Players Association. We also talk about some non-Commander stuff coming up 5:30, and then back to Commanders for our Pick 6 at 6 o'clock. Right now, though, taking your calls, 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980, talking about the depth chart that was released today by the Commanders and kind of the position battles and everything going on in training camp. Let's go to Alex to get us started. Alex, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. The one person I want to hear about in his status on the depth chart is Ben Sinnott. Mm-hmm. And I haven't heard anything about him from training camp, and given that they burned a second-round pick on him last year, I think we would like to see a little bit more than he showed last year. And I was wondering if you could tell us how he's been doing and where we expect to see him on the depth chart.
Yeah, it's a good question, Alex. And again, I haven't had the chance because I've been traveling to be out there and see with my own eyes. And talking to folks that have been out there and kind of getting a sense of it. The first thing is he's been managing an injury. He had a shoulder issue in the spring, but actually looked pretty good. It looked a little more explosive, looked more comfortable, and then has continued to have some issues and has missed a couple of days of practice here recently. And I think was kind of continuing to be up and down. I think Sinnott was a guy who was a second-round pick based off his potential upside. You know, some second-round picks are more, hey, they're pretty ready to go right now, but maybe they don't have the biggest upside. But we feel like this guy can be a rotational-level starter for us. I think Sinnott's a guy that you're like, man, if he hits, it's going to be big time. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. Now, in year 2, should it be a lot better? Yes. Do I anticipate him getting more opportunities this year? Yes. He will be probably, I don't know, it's like tight end 2B, because John Bates is tight end 2A, and he's just a different kind of guy. Like, he's a blocker. He's got his own stuff. But when it comes to being a pass-catching weapon, like, Ben Sinnott needs to get out there. And the thing is, though, you know, I heard Kime talking about this on his pod the other day. Colson Yankoff's having a heck of a camp. Like, it was a great special teams player for them last year, made the team mostly based off that, but showed some potential pop as an offensive player. He doesn't have the size as Ben Sinnott, so Sinnott should have the upper hand and certainly has the higher ceiling. But Colson Yankoff feels like he's pushing Ben Sinnott, and some of that is about Colson Yankoff, but some of that is also about Ben Sinnott. So that's kind of my understanding on where we are with Sinnott right now. But it's a name that certainly I think will, like, these joint practices, for instance, are going to be big for him with New England. And then what can he do in the preseason games to prove that he belongs on this team and belongs to have a much bigger role in the offense this year versus last year.
All right, I appreciate it. Your question about what we'd like to see Terry improve, Jaden improve on.
Yeah.
And to me, the biggest issue is staying in the pocket a little longer and not just relying on his legs, even though that's a great weapon, and then spreading the ball around as much as possible. That's something I'd like to see him improve on.
All right, cool. Thanks for the call, Alex. Appreciate it. I think the getting out of the pocket thing is hard because you definitely want a guy, like, you'd rather him get out of the pocket too early than too late. Because too late's too late. Too early, it's like, yeah, you missed that deep dig route. But when you're as good and as mobile as Jaden is, and your legs kind of are the check down, sometimes there is a benefit to getting to the check down early. So it's a tough balance, but I do think they want him to continue to stand in there, obviously deliver the ball accurately down the field. But also, if he can avoid taking hits and he can, you know, maybe you pass up a gain, but you move the ball forward and you don't take a hit, you can make an argument that that's probably just as valuable in some ways, especially considering how valuable he is to be on the field. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Got depth chart questions. You got Jaden Daniels' thoughts as we head into year 2. We'll play that Cliff Kingsbury bite here in a few minutes as well. But continuing on with the calls at 301-230-0980. And I hear we have a birthday on the phone. Our guy Lap, happy birthday, bro.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
I had to call you and get some love, man, because I haven't talked to you in a while, man.
Neither has anybody else, Lap. It's not like we've been ignoring you. I haven't been here.
I know. I know you've been. Look, I know you've been busy, bro. You the hard-working man. Yeah.
What you got?
I just this depth chart, man, is cool. I haven't really seen anything that kind of like wow me, and I was telling Ant that once the season starts and preseason, we can kind of get a better idea of some of these players, what they're going to do. I know everybody's high on Bill, and your points that you had made about him earlier, when you got 4 running backs in front of him, even though he's talented, I wish they can find a way to get him involved, man, because he does have talent there, but we don't know what's going to happen with that, and it looks like it's other guys that's, more proven than him, so he's got to work his way, and maybe he'll be on the practice squad. As far as the Terry situation, I know it's a business, what I'm saying, at the end of the day, Craig, but, just the fans of this team, man, it's just like we want them here, what I'm saying? So hopefully they can come to some agreement to get that squared away, man, because it just don't feel the same if he's not out there, man. And, they built good chemistry last year. He's been with this team for a while, so, we just hoping to see. And I really like the secondary too, Craig. I like the depth we have at the secondary. I'm not sure about the front 7. It's some kind of question marks there, but I'm hoping that secondary really can help out a lot, and maybe we can force some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see, bro. We'll see. But I'm excited about the season.
Hey, that makes at least 2 of us, and think there's a lot more. Again, happy birthday, Lap. Appreciate you calling. Yeah, man, like the Terry part of it, I think the thing that I keep coming back to, and, I'm hoping that this is not just a bunch of us in the media having an echo chamber here, and that when I read something like this from Albert Breer, for instance, which I read in his column this morning, that it's because he's talking to people, and this is true. Everyone seems to think it's going to get done because everyone wants it to get done. Like, if you're Terry and you demand a trade, and then you're seen the literal next day at practice shaking hands with the owner, the vibes, like, that's mixed messages in a good way. It's like, oh, okay. I wonder if this trade request was more of, hey, if you're not gonna sign me, I'd prefer that you trade me, please. Thank you so much for your dearest considerations. Versus like, I demand that you trade me now because y'all suck and I hate your guts and your stupid faces. Like, this wasn't acrimonious. This hasn't been acrimonious. Like, it's been frustrating because they're so far apart on the money. And ultimately, they're going to have to bridge that gap. And I do think Adam probably will wind up having to eat a little bit here of funny money to make the headline better for Terry, even if Adam is ultimately not going to budge on the real parts of this deal. But, like, that's still a significant compromise for Terry too, because what he's asking for, even the headline with all the fake money put in at the end in the world, he's not getting that headline. He's not getting the more than DK Metcalf, which puts you in CeeDee Lamb territory. That's just not happening. And so everybody wants it to get done. That will ultimately probably be the thing that pushes to getting it done. But in the meantime, it's probably going to be more painful than we would like. And unfortunately, we're now all experiencing that pain. But that's where we are on that. 301-230-0980. More of your calls here on the Hoffman Show on all of those things next. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio as well. Taking your calls at 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. All right, we got a bunch of calls starting to stack up. So let's go to Ford first. Ford, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Doing well. Hey, have a question for you. It's just what I've been thinking regarding this whole Terry thing as far as the deal structure, and I wanted to get your opinion. What are the drawbacks of what I'm getting ready to say, and what am I missing? So let me just give you that, and then I'll hang up and listen. If for whatever reason they're too far apart, and Terry just plays out, his contract this year, then they franchise him next year. I think it's a guaranteed $30 to $31 million if that happens. And then for years 3 and 4, they basically would say, hey, we're going to sign you to a Mike Evans type deal for $50 million and another $30 million guaranteed. So I'm thinking in my head, if that would be 4 years lengthwise and $60 million in guaranteed money for Terry. So in my head, and I probably don't have all the facts here, maybe it's I'm thinking unclear, but that sounds like that would be a win-win, and I'm curious on your thoughts, buddy.
If it plays out that way, sure. The problem is if you're Terry and your numbers drop off, why would the Commanders give you that? The other issue is that next year becomes very expensive on the cap. That happens in one, you don't know that you want to have to use the franchise tag on Terry because you have Lattimore and Tunsil, who are both up, that you spent draft capital on, that you probably also want to re-sign. And if you need the franchise tag as a leverage point on either of them, but you already feel like you have to use it on Terry, like that's not ideal. That's too many guys at expensive positions. And again, when you use the franchise tag, it is a fully guaranteed contract, meaning it's a 1-to-1 cash to cap ratio. And so for the team, that's bad because you lose the flexibility. And then obviously for the player, if you don't perform, like the Commanders could be like, we're not even giving you the Mike Evans deal in 2 years. So I think if it plays out that way, that all makes sense. It's kind of why if you're Terry, I think eventually you have to stare down the barrel and go, man, they're offering me a lot of guaranteed stuff right now. I should just take it now, as opposed to trying to earn more over the next couple of years, because Terry's only going to get older. The age argument only gets worse for him as it goes. And that's kind of where I think that all falls down.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it as always. I enjoy listening to you guys. And I left Anthony a little message, and I'm sure he'll share with you offline.
Yes, he has. And if when the fantasy league kicks back up, Ford, we will. You did your job. You put a reminder in for a year later, so Ford will be the first listener in the fantasy league this year. So good job on that, on remembering / using technology to your advantage.
Appreciate it, buddy. As always, love hearing you guys, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks, Ford. Let's keep it going with Little. Little, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Oh, thank you for taking my call. Shout out to Ant-Man number 2. Hey, look, this is what I'm hearing, Hoff. Terry going to sign either prior to the game or after the first preseason game. With my scuttlebutt, I get the scuttlebutt situation from the legend himself, John Thompson. And that's what I'm hearing, man. I'm thinking it's going to have
from who?
Apple,
Who do you get?
Scuttlebutt comes up. The term scuttlebutt comes from the legend, John Thompson.
I thought you were saying you get your info from JT, and I'm like, Little, we
I
gotta
thought so too.
we gonna have a problem with that because we are coming up
John.
on the 5-year anniversary of the big fella leaving us. So I was very confused there for a second.
I got it from a little insult. So look, when the stadium come back to DC, let me warn y'all, ESPN coming back too. One other thing, they're gonna have an age limit. Dave and Buster over at the site where the stadium will be built. That's a little scuttlebutt. I'm getting a little inside information. I spend a lot of time down in Wilson Building. So that's where I'm going at. And I think the money freed up now, the big man, the boss, because, Peter's name ain't on Terry's check. You know whose name is on Terry's check, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then after things is freed up, I think the boss figured he might have to go deep a little bit in his pocket. So things is freed up moving forward. He will get that guaranteed money that he's looking for prior to the game coming up or after the game. You heard it from Little. God bless y'all. Stay up, Hoff.
All right, Little. You know what I really want to happen now, Anthony?
What?
I want him to sign during the game. Because Little said it can only happen before, or it's going to happen before or after. Now, I think he means like right after.
Yeah.
So it is a little more specific, but he kind of said that like it's going to happen before or after. And it's like, well, yeah, if it happens, it's going to happen before or after. Those are the only two options, unless it happens during. So now I want Terry to sign at halftime.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. Also, the cash is not the problem for Josh Harris. They don't need to free up some money now that they know what the stadium is going to cost. One, they don't know anything more about the stadium, and they were already planning for that. It has nothing to do with anything. And you also have money that you have to spend out of basically a different pot of money for player salaries versus whatever. Like, yeah, some of that money guaranteed money has to go into escrow, and there is like complications there, blah, 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 blah. It's a cap issue. It ain't a cash issue. No money has been freed up by anything. But we got the scuttlebutt.
Yes, we did.
Feels like we really put the butt in scuttlebutt. Let's go to Aveen. Aveen, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig. I had a couple questions about guys I don't think I've been hearing much about. One is Ben Sinnott. I think the vibes I've gotten from you and Logan from listening is he still kind of seems like a work in progress. And I'm just wondering because, he was a second-round pick, so you kind of think with the second-round pick in the second year, this guy should be a bigger impact contributor. So I'm just wondering if it's kind of a concession that he's more of a project than they thought, and it's taking a little bit longer. And, with Ertz's age and all that, how much are we going to rely on Ertz this season? I remember Quinn saying last year that they were just initially planning on using him as a third down and red zone guy. And the other question I have is the fourth wide receiver, if one of the top three guys go down. And I know it's still questionable about how much they want to rely on McCaffrey if that happens. And I'm wondering about KJ Osborne, because I feel like I'm not hearing much about him. I've heard more about Gallup and Moore. But Osborne's been, pretty productive his first 3 years, first couple of years over 650 yards, third year 550. So he seems like the insurance policy if McCaffrey isn't working out, but I haven't heard much about him.
Yeah, so on the Sinnott thing, we obviously talked about Sinnott a little bit earlier in the show, but I think the framing there is important to follow up on, right? So first thing on Sinnott is, and relative to Ertz, is they planned on using Ertz in a more situational role last year, and then Zach was so good and is kind of a pain in the butt about coming off the field. Like, he's just like, no. What are you going to do? Tell him that while he's producing and not getting hurt, that he has to come off the field? Like, to an extent, you have to make sure you manage his minutes. But he was just better than they thought he was going to be because he was so much healthier and had a great offseason and all those things. And all that stuff is true again. So I think that had some to do with Sinnott's struggles, but also plenty to do with how good Ertz was, and I don't think that part of the equation has changed. I do think that while I'm not ready to call Sinnott a bust, and I do wish he was playing better, I think that the way Aveen put that there is correct, that like this might be some level of an admission that he is not as good as, or not, it was a bigger project than they thought, that they maybe missed a little bit on the scout. But that doesn't mean they can't round him into the player that they drafted him to be. It just might take longer. So that, to me, is kind of what I'm interested on that front. On the wide receiver 4 stuff, I mean, Jalen Lane is, I think, the other name that needs to be mentioned. He has had a really, he's making plays all over the place, really explosive at camp. And it's worth saying, KJ Osborne is listed as second on the depth chart behind Noah Brown. Again, so behind McLaurin is Gallup. And then behind Brown is Osborne. And then behind Debo is Luke. And then Lane is behind Luke. So, like, because it's not a straight 1 through 10 and it's done by position, it's a little hard to tell. But I do think Osborne's a guy that's probably in the mix. I think Gallup has had an up and down camp. Part of that is injuries. I think Moore has probably been the most reliable guy. But I also think when you're talking about what really is wide receiver 5 or 6 here, you're also talking about special teams value. And that's the part that these preseason games become really important. And if Gallup doesn't play special teams, I think that hurts him. If Osborne does play special teams, that helps him. He didn't play a ton on special teams last year because he was inactive all the time. So I don't know whether that's a skill set that he has and he just didn't know the schemes and they never found the reason to use him, or is he going to not play teams either, in which case a guy like Chris Moore, who's carved out a 10-year career in the NFL in part because he does play teams, is probably going to beat those guys out. So I think that's all that stuff kind of comes into it is, 1, what kind of body types do they want? 2, who do they think they can get to practice squad? 3, are there young guys they prefer, like a Ja'Cory Brooks from a developmental standpoint? And 4, which might actually be number 1 if we're talking about the true last wide receiver spot, is how are you on special teams? And I don't know that KJ Osborne or Michael Gallup is going to have a huge advantage there over a guy like Chris Moore or even Michael Strachan, the super tall kid who's made a bunch of plays in camp. He's had a bunch of drops too, but is a different body type and plays special teams. So that would be what to keep in mind for wide receiver 4. All right, we'll take more of your calls on all that stuff tomorrow. When we get back, Kaylin Kaler is going to join us, talk about the NFLPA mess. She is, of course, from ESPN and has been on a ton the last month and a half. Coming up at 6 o'clock, don't forget, Joe Witt Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury spoke today. So we'll have a pick 6 at 6 for you just over an hour from right now. Coming up just about an hour from now, a Pick Six at 6 featuring Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr. as both coordinators spoke this afternoon. Also, coming up a half hour from now, perhaps DC's best athlete had a signature moment this weekend. We will relive coming up at 5:30. Right now, though, it is time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat. Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Joining us now, ESPN's Kaylin Kaler, investigative reporter, who, Kaylin, I don't know if you know this, but you've basically been on the show as often as I have over the last month. I missed a bunch of time, and every time I'm back, it's like, oh, you and Don Van Natta dropped another story about the NFLPA, so welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I feel like it's been weekly at this point.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, which is basically all I've been on the show. But don't worry, everybody. I'm here all week, so we'll see what damage Kaylin and Don can do this week. The newest chapter in this saga is, if you will, is that David White has now been elected the interim executive director of the NFLPA. Obviously, you and Don have been reporting about the demise of Lloyd Howell, the now departed, resigned director of the NFLPA. When the election of Howell happened a couple of years ago, White was the other candidate. So how did they land on going back to him to be the interim?
Yeah, so we were unable to confirm like how many candidates they had for interim director, as well as exactly who they were. They've been the player representatives and union leadership has been very buttoned up about this process. They really have tried their best to stay quiet about it. So we have ideas on, who was between, but we don't know for sure. And we reported on a document a little over a week ago that a union lawyer had put together recommending a few candidates. And there were, I believe, 3 union staffers, Don Davis, Terry Smith, and Lester Archambault, and then 2 outsiders, Dominique Foxworth and Eric Winston, who were recommended by this union staffer to be considered for the interim candidate. Now, that was not an official list of all the interim candidates. So, we don't know for sure, but we do know that over the last couple of weeks, the Board of Representatives and the Executive Committee interviewed all of whoever they considered to be candidates. They were all interviewed, and they went through pretty lengthy background checks because it took a couple weeks to get to this point. And I talked to several player reps at training camp who told me they had been in hours and hours of meetings. The Cowboys player rep, Trent Sieg, their long snapper, he said the first 2 days of training camp, he was in 8 hours of meetings, which is a lot considering that they're also at training camp right now. So they were doing their best to get to a quick answer here, but not rush the process either. So they have come back to David White, who they elected last night, and who, as you mentioned, was the other finalist when they elected Lloyd. It came down to David White and Lloyd Howell. Those are the only 2 candidates who were brought to and presented to the Board of Representatives in Virginia in 2023 when they had a 2-day election process. And those were the only 2 guys. And so what's interesting that they came back to David White is the fact that J.C. Tretter has said publicly, and there's a couple other union sources. I remember Washington Post story had a couple sources who backed up J.C. on this, that the Executive Committee in 2023, when they conducted an informal poll of what their preference was ahead of the election, the executive committee came down in favor of White over Howell 10-1, apparently, per Treader and a couple other sources. So this is the guy who, on paper, the last time around as well, looked like a more natural candidate for the job. He led the SAG-AFTRA Giant Screen Actors Guild Actors Union in Hollywood. Huge union. Really, that's a really big labor job. And he also played football at Division III college. He was a quarterback at a Division III college in Grinnell, Iowa, I believe. So he's got a little bit of a football playing background, not an NFL background, but he knows the sport, was an athlete, and has a ton of experience leading one of the biggest unions in the country. So on paper, he looks a lot more, objectively qualified for the job with experience that lines up to be leading a labor union than Lloyd Howell ever did.
Grinnell College, by the way, a somewhat infamous school because they were the school, people might remember this. This is the only association I have with Grinnell College at all that was like shooting an absolutely absurd amount of 3-pointers. And like they had some guy score like 120 points in a game, I think, a couple years ago. So there's I didn't think today would be the day that we'd have our random Grinnell College fact, but there you go. That David White goes to Grinnell. Apparently he was a Rhodes Scholar. Just searched David White, Grinnell College. And there you go. 1989 football roster. There you go in the archives, right there on Google, kids. Go look it up or don't. What are the chances that David White becomes the permanent executive director, and this is a delayed, not denied type of job for him? Or is he taking this on the interim basis with the knowledge that they are going to do a full search and land on somebody else?
They haven't explained a lot of detailed specifics about how they're going to conduct the permanent search. What we know from the statement they sent out last night from Jalen Reeves-Maybin is that, they are, what did he say here? I'm looking it up. He said, this is a player-led process. Soon we will commence a thorough search process for a permanent executive director. The process will continue to be player-led, as the strength of our union has and always will lie with our membership. So we don't know what that process is going to look like, because obviously the last process they conducted was much more secretive, much more confidential than any prior processes have been. And it didn't net them a successful result. So I know that the player membership, the Board of Representatives, has been having a lot of conversations about how do they want to run the next process. And a lot of the executive committee has really dug their heels in and defended the last election process, which is, the Board of Representatives voted ahead of that election process to change the timeline so that they would not have 2 weeks to know who the candidates were, who the finalists were, and do research, ask questions, and talk to people, and the media would find out. They changed it so that the player representatives wouldn't find out until the actual meeting where they were supposed to vote. And I know that the executive committee members of the executive committee have said publicly, Austin Eckler comes to mind, who did a long interview with The Athletic where he really defended that process. And I've talked to some player reps who also thought it was a good process. Because remember, they voted for it. Like, they voted to support protecting the candidates and not letting their information leak to the media. And they thought that was the best choice. And so it'll be interesting to see if the process for them changes, if they go back to how it used to be, where the Board of Player Representatives are getting a longer lead time on the finalists. It'll be interesting to see if they use a different search firm or if they don't use a search firm at all, because they used Russell Reynolds last time around. And, I've talked to people involved in the process who don't have anything bad to say about Russell Reynolds necessarily. So they did a thorough job. But, obviously, as I said before, like, we know the results of the last process wasn't good. So it'll be interesting to see if they use a different search firm, if they use no search firm, if they change it back to the longer lead time. I don't have a ton of details right now on where they're going to go with that, because they've been really buttoned up about it. But I will say, from talking to a few player reps at training camp, one thing that has come up is 2 or 3 of them expressed to me that they feel they should have known about the collusion grievance decision. They thought there was really interesting and important information in that collusion grievance decision, that all players should have known about. And the Rams player representative, Quentin Lake, told me that they've been having conversations as a group recently about how can the player representatives be more involved and more informed in what's going on. And obviously they don't need to know. They're like, yeah, we don't need to know about every little grievance. Like, that's why we have elected an executive committee, because they filter things for us. But in a situation like that collusion grievance, there is frustration among the player reps about not knowing about that and not being informed on that. So one of the things they have been talking about recently is how can the player representatives be more in the know and more informed?
That's really interesting. Kaylin Kaler is with us, ESPN national NFL reporter. Of course, she and Don Van Natta have been reporting on all that is going on at the NFLPA over the last couple of weeks and months. And like they both seem to understand why transparency is important and hate it with every fiber of their being, depending on whether they are the ones being told or they're the ones hiding the information. So like when you mentioned a couple, and Austin being one of them, the interview he did with The Athletic about this, but when you talk to players writ large about this stuff, Kaylin, and the secretive nature of their process, and is this something that they like wholeheartedly believe and defend, or are there others that are like, this is stupid. Like, why are we making this? Like, we're not protecting state secrets. Like, we need to make sure that we have what we need. And if that means it gets out to the media, like, who cares? Or is there something in the past that makes this so painful that it turned into a circus and they just feel the need that is more damaging than whatever happened this time or could happen again?
Yeah, I have not talked to anyone who says that, they disagreed with the process. All of these guys are really repeating the same party line, which is, well, if we want to get the best candidates, if we want the best candidates to apply for this job, we have to promise them confidentiality. So that seems to be the, prevailing thought here. And even after what happened with Lloyd, I still keep hearing that. So there hasn't been a lot of, we should definitely do things differently because it didn't work this time. Like, everyone seems to just think that they ran a good process, even though, despite the results, the players that I've talked to believe that they ran a good process, and that's from the executive committee to the player representatives. And
so can I just jump in and then ask the obvious follow-up to which you may not have an answer and you might be asking people? It's like, where did they go wrong then? Because like clearly the process didn't work. So like where, if that part of the process was correct, then like what got so messed up?
Yeah. So I asked that question I had a chance to talk to Josh Harris, the Chargers player representative, who did vote for Lloyd Howell. He was at the election. He's been a player rep for 11 seasons, I believe. So a very long time. He's in his 14th season as a long snapper in the NFL. And he said right now, he's like, yeah, well, what we do as players is what do? We watch film, we review the tape, we look for mistakes. So that's what we're doing now. And I'm like, okay, well, what has your film review told you? Same question you just brought up. And he said, what he's learned is that there is no perfect election process. He thinks that they ran a solid process, but he's like, clearly this has shown us there isn't a perfect process. And I think what I've heard too is like something that players bring up is like right now the trust in the union is not good, obviously, after what's happened, and players feeling like they were not informed when they should have been informed. And so I think a topic that's come up among the player reps I've talked to is just like they need to regain the trust of players. And something Ted Karras told our Bengals reporter Ben Beebe, I thought it was a really interesting quote. Ben asked him, okay, well, what are you looking for in the next interim director given what happened with Lloyd? And Karras kind of like hemmed and hawed at first. He was like, well, and then finally he says, anyone in a leadership role within our union needs to live above reproach. So I think that sort of distills what they've learned in a nutshell. Is like Josh Harris told me he knew he felt like he had enough information in the election, despite only knowing who Lloyd was for about 24 hours before he voted for him. He felt like he had enough information to make an educated vote. He said that wasn't the problem. And he knew about a lot of the red flags that Don and I reported on in Lloyd's past, such as the sexual discrimination and retaliation lawsuit. Harris says that the players grilled Lloyd about that, and they knew about what was at the time an ongoing civil lawsuit with the whistleblower financial fraud allegations against Booz Allen, where Lloyd had been the CFO. Harris said they knew about that as well. And he said, it's been 2 years, so I don't remember specifically what Lloyd Howell told us that made us feel comfortable voting for him, but he said whatever his answers were, when we asked him questions about those situations, they were not the type of answers that would lead you down the path to think something like this would ever happen, is what he told me. So, I'm not really answering your question because honestly, none of the players have really answered the question in a satisfying way, I don't think. But I think if there's anything that they can learn is what Ted Harris said, whoever is in a leadership role in this union needs to be above reproach. So shouldn't be getting sued for these types of things in their past.
Yeah, it just, some of the quotes considering the process, I just am like, do you guys hear yourselves? Like what you're saying and what actually happened does not seem to add up. So I guess the other question I would have then, Kaylin, are there other people in the union staff-wise that come from other industries or have other backgrounds that, like, I'm not trying to say like football players are dumb, because they are not. Like, football players, many NFL players are brilliant and have wide swaths of experience outside of the NFL. These guys own businesses, they have other interests, they do other stuff. So it's not like they don't know how to function as people in a boardroom, but their time is committed to a very strenuous job that has nothing to do with like vetting people. And they don't always, I think part of being in a locker room sometimes is the ability to look past stuff and see the best in people so that you can work together. And the way you have to do that in a locker room is very different psychologically than the skills you'd have to apply to elect a union director. So are there other people that help them, or are they, because I'm also thinking of the quote here that probably means the answer is no, where it's like the strength of the union is in the membership. But are there people to help the membership and maybe help along even within the process that's been established?
Yeah, there are, because there are still, Lloyd, when he became the union director, he offered buyouts to a lot of union staffers, and a lot of them took it. So I think there are about 35 longtime union employees who ended up leaving. So they do have some vacancies in important positions at the union, but they were trying to become, as the players have told me, more efficient with their staffing. So there are people within the union that can help the players with this. And some of those people are the executive committee, because, in my conversations with the player representatives, as they were saying, well, we want to be more involved. We want things to be more transparent. We want to know more. Like, we should have known about this collusion grievance. As they're expressing that, at the same time, most of them are also admitting, well, we can't know, like, we don't have the bandwidth to know about everything that's going on at all times. So that's why, the Board of Representatives elects an executive committee. So, and the executive committee is 9 players plus the president. So those 10 players, those guys are the filter to the player representatives. That's how they are supposed to be functioning. So it's hard, it's even the person you talk to them, they're like back and forth between, yeah, we want to know more, but then we also don't want to know more, because we understand at a certain point it's going to be too much information. And, a lot of player representatives have been talking at training camps over the last couple of weeks, and I don't remember who it was now, because I've been trying to collect, like, with our different ESPN reporters, as they talk to people, they'll send it to me so I can just look it over. And one of the representatives was saying, something along the lines of, like, yeah, too much information is too much information. Like, at a certain point, if I send out texts to all my teammates about union ongoings, like, people stop responding. Like, people will start ignoring it when you're giving them so many, like, daily updates. So I do think that is the ultimate challenge for the players union, is like, how much should the players be involved? How much should they know? How much do they deserve to know? How much is too much? And then how do you get them? I mean, the age-old problem for this union is, how do you get the players invested when, in something that's really a 10-year problem, which is the CBA, when their careers are an average of 3 years. Like that is the hardest challenge that the PA faces, is just getting the investment from players who have the long-term investment, realizing that their involvement is going to help people down the road. It may help them as well, but the majority of them have short careers. So it's going to be helping the players after them for them to be involved and invested. So I think, yeah, it's a really good question that you bring up, and I don't think it really has an easy answer.
Yeah, I mean, part of the solution might be, I learned in this interview how many long snappers are player reps. Those guys are around forever.
Oh my God, they're hard. Yeah.
Yeah, elect all the long snappers. There, we solved the problem, Kaylin. Why don't they ask us?
Yeah, I actually asked Josh Harris that. I was like, is there something to the fact that like a lot of you guys are specialists? Because Tom Morstead, a punter, is on the executive committee. Brandon McManus, a kicker, also on the executive committee. And if you scan the list of player reps, as you mentioned, there are a few long snappers on there. There's quite a few. There's at least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. Like, get the players. And Josh Harris said, yeah, I think it's probably because we do have long careers, and also because the specialists, kind of interact with everybody on the team, on special teams. As they say that about special teams coordinators too, when they become the head coaches. Is like, oh, well, these are the guys who like literally work with everyone. So they're more qualified to be like representing everyone because they work with everybody. So that was another thing Josh Harris said too, is like, because he kind of interacts with a lot of the teammates, and his job is to be the voice of his own locker room. So that could be part of it.
There we go. That, again, we're just one problem solved. Just ask us. We know what we're doing over here at the Hoffman Show when we show up for work, which we're now going to start doing again. Kaylin Kaler is with us to talk about this NFLPA story. If you want to read more, ESPN.com is where you go. Her and Don Van Natta doing tremendous work there. There will be more chapters in this story as the full search goes on. Some of the grievances that have been appealed, those get resolved. So there's plenty more to come here down the road. Kaylin, appreciate you joining us as always. Great work as always. And I'm sure based off how this is all going, we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Craig.
on the Hoffman Show. Pick 6 at 6. That is where we give you the biggest sound bites and stories of the day. Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Witt Jr. spoke today. Dan Quinn, of course, as well. All of them speaking before the Commanders head to New England for practice, joint practice coming in the next few days. And then, of course, the preseason game later in the week. We will discuss all of that and what they had to say coming up in half an hour. But when you think of greatness, Anthony, in sports, I think one of the ways you can define the truly, truly great athletes is they do exactly what you expect so often that it's unbelievable. That, like, in the biggest moments, how does that player always seem to get the ball and come through? And it can be in stretches, right? Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA playoffs. It just felt like there was a magic to him that ultimately crashed out in the most unspectacular, spectacular in terribleness fashion with the Achilles. But even in that game 7, like, he was on fire early. He has the shot against New York, a bunch of other games. Like, he was just every time the moment called for the Indiana Pacers to do something, Tyrese Halliburton did that thing. Jaden Daniels last year, like, when the moment called, he was ready. If you're talking about the best of DC athletes, obviously the resume, no one has a better one than Alex Ovechkin. And he has come in clutch moments time and time again for this team. And obviously during the Stanley Cup run, he had a bunch of clutch moments, which kind of overcame the lack of clutch moments that was stunning in its own right because he didn't come through despite his greatness at times. But if I'm thinking about in DC currently, the athlete that personifies that the most, that, like, if it's a big moment for his or her team, who do I think is just going to get the job done? I think it's Trinity Rodman. And Trinity Rodman this weekend had another moment proving that. And the thing is with Trin, she does it not only for the Spirit, but yesterday, where she did what we're about to share with you if you missed it, was the 1-year anniversary of her coming through in the clutch for Team USA in the Olympics. So she has done it on the absolute biggest stage time and time again for club and for country. But what made yesterday so special is that it was so improbable, even if it's exactly what we anticipated happening. Trinity Rodman had not played a soccer game since April 12th. She played for the national team the week before. She scored in that game, and then she, a week later, like, just played, but it wasn't quite right. And then not only was she out, Anthony, I don't know if you remember this, but it was like Trinity Rodman is not going to play in the foreseeable future, and she is going to London to get treatment for her back.
Yep.
So we're talking about a really significant thing that is like, hey, I got to get away from the team. I got to go find a second opinion. And I want to give the Spirit as an organization enormous credit here. And it's something that I think is a good lesson for teams in general. And Trinity talked about this last week, where she said going to London and doing this rehab on her own allowed her to get a different level of treatment than she would have at home. And a lot of teams are very, very controlling about their players with injury, especially a star player. I mean, Trinity Rodman might be, she is for my money, the best women's soccer player on the entire planet. She's the best in the sport. And for the team to look at her and go, do what you got to do, takes a level of respect for her and a level of self-respect that is rare in sports. And what Rodman said that was so fascinating and so correct is when you're a trainer working for a team, it's an impossible job. It's something I've talked about with strength and conditioning coaches being in that field as well, is you're trying to train 30 players, or if you're on a basketball team, 18 guys. If you're on a football team, 53 plus the practice. Like, you can't provide individualized care at the highest level for all of them. You can barely provide individualized care at all. If you're like a football strength and conditioning coach, you try to tweak, you get to know, you do the best you can, but ultimately you're going to have to work within a certain framework, and you can only dedicate so much time because your time is limited and everybody needs you. And so what the Spirit did was they let her go overseas, see some different specialists, get some different treatment, and get someone and work with people that were fully 100% dedicated to her. And they did that not only in the middle of their season, but knowing her contract situation is not ideal one, aka she's an expiring contract. And not only is she expiring for the end of the season, the way the soccer season works is very silly. I thought we had seen the last of Trinity Rodman in a Spirit uniform because I thought Chelsea or Arsenal or one of the big clubs in Europe was going to pay the Spirit $1 million+ and say, she's ours now. And they were going to get her in the summer transfer window, nevertheless, when she is a free agent at the end of the year. And so that's the backdrop leading into yesterday, where she goes through the entire month of July, does not sign a contract overseas, commits back to the Spirit. And we know that she's not going to play a full 90 minutes. So from about the 60-minute mark on, you're like, when is she going to come in? She comes in with 75 minutes gone on the game. So 15 minutes to go in regulation plus stoppage time, which turned out to be plentiful. There was about 10 minutes in total because of some injuries and water breaks and, lengthy VAR reviews and all kinds of silliness that happens in soccer games. And so she comes on. It's 1-1. The crowd goes absolutely bananas. And she has some early touches, but the game continues to flow back and forth. Spirit have a couple of chances. They were the better side all day. Olivia Moultrie, also U.S. Women's National Team player, scored a tremendous goal in first half stoppage time to tie it at 1 after a Gift Monday goal in the first half. And so here we are, 94 minutes into the game. We're about halfway through the scheduled stoppage time. And of course, this happens.
The Thorns, my goodness. Brown, through for Bethune.
Jill Lloyden on ESPN, the call, forget what a moment. She is the moment. She's always the moment. That's the whole point. And I had said to my wife a couple minutes prior as we're sitting there in the stands, like, it was probably when Trin came on, I just looked at Rachel and I went, this is setting up for a Trin game winner. She's got so many of them in her career. In a sport that doesn't tend to lend itself to game winners, like late goals, like she's as clutch is in any sport. In a sport that's not really designed to have clutch moments. It's not like you have a final possession late in a basketball game or a late at bat in a baseball game, or you get to go on a 2-minute drive. It's an open play, minimal chance type of sport, and yet the ball somehow always winds up on her foot, and then from there in the back of the net. The assist from Bethune's insane. It's a ball. Courtney Brown, first of all, credit to Court. She gets a turnover, generates it, blocks a clearance, and is able to cross the ball. Croy, in a way that only Croy can, gets her foot up above her head, knocks the ball down, and it just perfectly lies there for Trin. And she just roofs the son of a gun, just absolutely rips it past the goalkeeper. And the stadium spontaneously erupts. Like, everyone's emotional. Trin is basically crying on the field because she just cannot believe what she has done. Because this back injury that has threatened her career, she thought she was going to have to either exist in pain or retire potentially. Like, that's how bad this back injury was, is now at a point where she can play. And here she is back in her very first game, and she does that, which is why she got emotional in the immediate aftermath and then was emotional with ESPN on the broadcast afterwards.
Yeah, I just think, damn. I just think, holy cow. That was just the hardest thing I've had to go through with injury and everything. So being back, being especially at the home stadium with the crowd behind me, scoring a goal like that, you saw I buried it. I was not going to miss it. So, yeah, I'm just really happy to be back. I miss the team. I miss doing what I love. So, yeah, I'm just joy.
She's a champion. She's an Olympic gold medalist. She might be the best player in the sport. She's also 22. She's a young woman who's still figuring out what it means to be, especially a famous person, nevertheless a person in the world, because that's what happens when you're 22, and she happens to be very famous. And through all that, her ability to perform just, it leaves you speechless. And I think it's important to celebrate those moments. One, because like deserved on an athletic front. But I think also when we do these shows, often it is hard to talk about victories and wins in a way. It's why I think some people think media likes to talk about losing more, because when you talk about people that lose things, you get to talk about what gets fixed, and you get to talk about the conflict between coach and player, coach in front office, player in front office. Like you need conflict for storylines. That's just how stories work. If someone wrote a book where the main character, where the protagonist had no adversity, then I don't know how that becomes a good book. We like stories where people overcome things. And so watching that yesterday and experiencing the full range of emotions, watching her do that, I thought it was important to bring up because, we don't get the chance to both have the adversity that creates a good story and also a win very often when laying out the story is so unbelievable and you get to go along the roller coaster ride with the athlete. It's what makes it all worth it. It's more fun. I hate that Trent had to go through the physical pain to do it, but man, what a story, what a moment, what a performance, and the Spirit very much are going to be in championship contention here over the back half of the season. So excited to watch that. I had Adrian Gonzalez, their new head coach, who's also their old head coach. He was the interim, waiting for Jonah Heraldez to come from Barcelona. Now that Heraldez is left for Europe again, he now is the full-time head coach, and he is beloved by the players and the staff and everybody over there. Had a great interview with him last week. You can check that out at the Hoffman Women's Sports YouTube page or the Hoffman W Sport or the Hoffman Women's Sports Podcast, Hoffman W Sports YouTube page. But yeah, just had to share that moment. If you missed it this weekend, it's worth going and watching the highlight. I don't even know. It had to be 15, 18,000 at Audi yesterday. Just lost their minds, myself included. Could not believe something. Again, to go back to where we started, something that was both perfectly predictable and incredibly unbelievable all at the same time. It's the absolute best of what sports is. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, just my pal Anthony there. We haven't been able to hang out in a while because I've been traveling and you were traveling. You went to Europe and then came back, and then I left, and then I left again, and then I left again. Then the air conditioning broke, so we're still in different places. Eventually we'll get to be reunited in person, but we're just gonna weekend review human style before we get to our pick six at 6 next. Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. What's up? YouTube audience as well at the Team 980, where we stream live every day. Anthony, we're doing. Well, actually, we're not even have a full week because you're out Friday, but we're gonna have 4 days together, which is the longest stretch we've had since when?
Let's
see if I can figure it out.
Is this June? Late June?
Maybe. Like if we go back, let's see. Not last week. Not the week before. Those were the weeks I was in Ohio. The week of the 14th, I was in LA. The week of the 7th, I think we had 4 days the week of the 7th. The day, remember you got back and the Nats fired Davian Rizzo?
Yeah, I got back on that. The 7th.
You came back the day before. Monday was that day. Like they fired him on the 6th. We came back on the 7th. The 8th, we went to the whatchamacallit? We went to the Mystics camp day game.
Yep.
Wednesday and Thursday we were in. And then Friday, I was out, and because I was off to South Carolina. The week before,
I wasn't here.
You weren't there.
Nope.
The week before that, the week of the NBA draft, were we both in the whole week?
Yeah, I think that's the last time we were both in.
All right, the week of June 23rd. Week of June 23rd. That was the last time that we were together.
No. Can't even say that because I left that Thursday. I left for Paris that Thursday.
You did?
Thursday night. Yeah, I wasn't in on Friday.
Oh. Okay. The week
before that.
The 16th, that included Juneteenth. That's not a 5-day week.
Nope. Oh, my God.
The week of the 9th? Were we both in?
I was in. Yeah, I didn't take off any time.
I think we were both in that week. The NBA Finals started that week tied at 1. Eventually, the Indiana Pacers actually took a 2-1 series lead. And then that weekend, you did take a trip, though. You went you right after. We barely made it. Because Friday, after that show, you took Amtrak for the first time for New York. So not since the 9th. We're going to go 2 full months without both of us being here for an entire 5 days. Now, there was the week of Juneteenth where we were both in every day that we would have been.
Yeah.
It was a holiday in between.
Yep.
Where are you going Friday?
I'll be in Cleveland for the National Association for Black Journalists Convention.
Oh, nice. So you'll be back on Monday then?
Oh, yeah, I'll be back. I'm going Friday. They have a career fair that day. So I'm going to, network, meet some people. And then Saturday, there's more of that. Then Sunday morning, I'll be out of there.
Okay. So you'll be back safely for Monday, and we'll see about both of us that entire week.
I won't be in next week either. Well, I won't be in 2 of the days next weekend.
Well, next weekend I don't care about.
Oh, no, next week. Sorry.
The week following you're out too?
So this Friday I'm out, and then next Thursday and Friday I'm out. I have to take my sisters to school. Yeah. So it's not really vacation. It's more so.
No, I get that. Like a lot of my stuff was not vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. Eventually, theoretically, maybe, but no promises, this show will be whole for 5 days in a week at some point.
Yes.
When we last did a little bit of catch up on Friday, we for those that listened then, we were learning that you had a very late dinner for your boy's birthday. Dinner sat at 11:30 that night. How did that go?
So it actually was pretty cool, but I didn't eat one piece of sushi until about 12:20, 12:30.
So you definitely like had dinner then, right? Like you didn't try to be like, oh, I'm gonna just have dinner at midnight.
Yeah, nah, I definitely ate beforehand.
Yeah, you got to, and then you were probably hungry again.
Yeah, it served as a little midnight snack, I guess.
Yeah.
But the dinner itself was pretty cool.
Was it more dinner or more not dinner?
It was more so just fellowshipping, to be honest. It wasn't really dinner. Yeah,
that's a good verb. That's
we had some finger foods, I guess, with the sushi, and then we were just there gathering, talking, catching up.
Anthony, can you use chopsticks?
So I'm okay. I'm not terrible. Okay. I know how to use chopsticks. I definitely did use my chopsticks because at Kata they serve you plates and chopsticks. So when I went to go pick up my sushi, picked it up. But I'm one of those people, I got to eat it real fast or it'll probably fall off the chopstick. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, so there's not a lot of finesse. For some reason, I just can't see you using chopsticks.
I'm okay. We'll put it to the test. Okay. You'll see me.
Like really nice sushi places, they tell you to use your fingers. Like you're supposed to. Like if you go to an omakase.
Really?
Yeah. Then they're like, and they give you like water to rinse and the whole deal. Yeah, that's like a thing. So depending on where you are, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you should use chopsticks. But sometimes you should actually not. You should use your fingers. So
what if you want to dip it in soy sauce though?
Depending on the omakase, depending on how good the sushi is, that's kind of offensive.
Oh,
it's kind of like if you go to like a really nice steakhouse and you put like ketchup on the steak or something like that, or A1 on the steak. It's like no. That's not. We don't do that here.
You're taken away from.
Yeah, the chef imagined this cooked a particular way.
Yeah,
and he would like you to try it. Where was I? I was at Sugarfish in L.A., which is a sushi place. Which, wow, what a pretentious statement that was. I was at Sugarfish in L.A. I just went to get a sushi lunch when I was in L.A. And they were like, the chef recommends that if the sushi has a sauce on it, you don't dip. But if the sushi is dry, then you should or you can. So like if you get like a piece of rice with fish on top, like let's say it's salmon, and it's just that or that with like a little wasabi on it, whatever, go ahead and pop that in a little soy sauce. One bite, bada boom, bada bing. But if it comes and it's like a marinated piece of tuna, then you're not supposed to dip it.
Not at all.
So there you go. Now you know.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, so I've taken that back to my own sushi eating approach here in D.C. Now that I know I'm a more educated sushi eater.
Nice.
So that's all we got to say about that. When we get back, what did Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr. have to say about their units heading into joint practice in New England? We will have a pick 6 at 6 to tell you next. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. Coming up over the next half hour, you will hear the most important sound bites from both the Commanders' offensive and defensive coordinators, as both men spoke today. The format we do that in is something we like to call the Pick Six.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
We'll start off with the offense, and then we will get into what Joe Witt had to say about the defense in our Pick 6 at 6, starting with number 1. Anthony, do you have the big fancy numbers prepared for us today?
Number 1.
Ooh la la, the big fancy numbers. Let's get into it, taking a look at some of what Cliff Kingsbury had to say, starting with the growth of the second-year players. That, of course, is most prominently Jaden Daniels, although there's some very important other ones as well. But with a guy who played so unbelievably well as a rookie, like, what do you want to see? Well, if you're his coach, probably a lot, because you have the most keen eye. So here's Cliff on the improvement he wants to see from Jaden in year 2.
There's been a bunch of really good throwaways to keep us in manageable situations. So, carrying out his fakes at a higher level, he's just really treating each practice rep as a game, and that is showing up.
Simple. Just get those details even more locked in. I think that's something that has made Jaden special is I think Jaden has an ability to distill information that's really important. In other words, like, here's all this stuff that's got to happen, but, like, what's the thing that I need to know? What's the most important thing? What's my role in this? So let's make sure the line's set. Let's make sure the blocking's set. Let's do this. But then, like, ultimately, when I say set hut, I got to carry out this play fake. So what does that look like? Or let's make sure we do it really well in the drill when that's the main focus and there's not anything else. We don't have to set the line. We don't have to do any of these other things. My job is to do this play fake. That way, when I'm worried about all that other stuff, I just operate at a higher level when I'm on autopilot in the game. Down distance situation, learning how to manage that, keep that stuff in mind at a higher level, knowing when a throwaway is okay, or when you should force it, or when you should run. Like, all that stuff really, really matters. And while it's really easy to be pretty good without that stuff locked in at the highest level, it's impossible to be great without it. And that is the level that Jaden Daniels is striving for in year 2. Luke McCaffrey striving for, can I be consistently good? That would be great. What is Cliff Kingsbury seeing from his second-year receiver?
Yeah, that's been, if you're going to find silver linings, some of those other guys being asked to step into starting type roles, and us as coaches figuring out, hey, worst case scenario, if these two guys, Noah and Terry, got hurt, what would this look like? How would we play personnel groups? What we need to do to maximize that group? So we've been working through that. But Luke has really come a long way from last year this time to now. Just the confidence. We're playing him outside a lot for necessity. I think he can play inside as well. But he's made some plays. The young kid's had his number on some plays. But it's been a good battle, and he's definitely night and day difference from what he was last year at this time.
It's something that I remember seeing in the spring. Just he's faster, the explosive athleticism that he has showed more. And so if they can get that on a somewhat regular basis in year 2, and then he can become a real consistent player in year 3, for a guy that's a very late third-round pick, basically a fourth, he was a compensatory third-round pick, that's good stuff. That's what you're looking for. But there's only one group of players that you like to talk about more than second-year guys, and that's the rookies. So that's what we asked about next in our Pick 6 at 6.
Number 2.
Cliff Kingsbury asked about the young guys on the offensive side of the ball, specifically his first and his fourth round pick. So let's start first. Here is Cliff on Josh Connerly Jr.
Your guy is super talented. Has everything you want. He's made the adjustment from left to right tackle, and I think there's still some fundamental stuff that he's got to get used to playing over on the right side, which takes some time, but he's game. Asks great questions, studies hard, works hard, so he's pretty much right where we expect him to be.
And that's good, coming from the guy who wanted him. Remember, it was Cliff who slid the note on Adam Peters' desk saying, hey, please take the tackle from Oregon. Thanks, Cliff. So we know that Cliff wants to see Josh Connerly. He's very invested in his success, as you would be for any player, but especially when you personally put your stamp on it. Like, you really want to be right about that, and you're going to work hard to make yourself right about that. I'd assume he also very much wanted Jalen Lane, the explosive Middle Tennessee State to Virginia Tech transfer who I saw a play earlier today that was floating around Twitter where he looked very, very much like a young Terry McLaurin. It was a play from back in the Middle Tennessee State days, and he just caught a slant, and he was gone. That said, he's got a lot more comparisons to Debo, and he is listed on the depth chart, unofficial, that came out today, behind Debo in terms of being more of a slot guy. But all that said, Cliff Kingsbury, enough about me talking about Jalen Lane. Here's Cliff on the Commanders' rookie wideout.
He's been very impressive. He's a coach's kid, been around the game his entire life, and if you tell him how to do it one time, he usually nails it. And then if he makes a mistake, he'll come back and get it corrected. But super, super talented, very fast. I've been really impressed. I don't think I could see some of those things at Virginia Tech, watching the film and getting him here in person and watching him run around and watching the coachability and the route tree that he can run. It's been really impressive.
Going to be interesting to see where he winds up, how big his role is offensively in year one. I do think it will continue to grow because of his coachability, because of his skill set, all that kind of stuff. But how ready is he right now? He is an older player, so exciting to see what he can do. Of course, there's one other rookie everyone wants to know about. We'll get to that as part of number 3 in our Pick 6 at 6.
Number 3.
That would be Bill. But first, Cliff Kingsbury on the running back group as a whole.
A lot of guys that can play. I think there's probably 6 or 7 guys that'll end up being on a roster this year out of that room, which is a credit to those guys and the job Coach Lynn does with them. But, Bill, for a young guy, loves football, competes, very explosive. Like, he got ruled ineligible at Arizona and stayed and played scout team the whole year, which is like nobody would do that, So that tells you right there the type of passion he has for it, and it shows up. So that was a exciting kind of pick for us and what he's shown so far. And then Austin Eckler looks as good as ever. We got B-Rob. We know what he is. C-Rod, J-Mac, Kaz, Felton's done good. So I think there's 6 or 7 guys that are going to make rosters. And so it's been great competition in that room.
And, of course, as mentioned in there, you have Bill as a part of that, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the 7th-round pick. Also worth mentioning, Deebo Samuel is going to get some reps at the running back spot. So it's a pretty crowded room that Cliff and Anthony Lynn and the staff are trying to sort out.
Yeah, I like the group we have. There's no doubt. Bill's had some good flashes for a young guy. We'll see as we get into these competitive periods with other teams and preseason games. But the Debo, I remember being in Arizona, just the matchup issue where you don't know what personnel group they're in because they had McCaffrey and him, and sometimes McCaffrey was wide out, he was a running back, and vice versa. It's just, you can do a lot of different things. So that to me is the most exciting thing when it comes to game planning and finding ways to get him touches.
Going to be a lot of fun to see how the usage package goes, who makes the team. Lot to work out in joint practices. Most NFL teams now consider joint practices more important than preseason games. That was one of the things that Joe Witt was asked about. You'll hear from the Commanders' defensive coordinator next on the Hoffman Show. Second half of the Pick Six here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Team 980, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube at the Team 980. We let you hear from Cliff Kingsbury and talk offense in the first half. So if you just got in the car or just tuning in and you missed that, you can use the rewind on the Odyssey app, or you can check out the podcast, The Hoffman Show. Search it wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. However, we pick up with
number 4
and Joe Witt Jr., who was asked about Trey Amos, the stud second-round pick. At least that's the way it seems in training camp, as he has been a bona fide starter. He's listed at the top of the depth chart along with Marshawn Lattimore, who has also had a very good camp. Here's Witt on his starting 2 corners.
Yeah, Trey's had a good day every day. He's a young kid that he's a rookie. So Jason Simmons has done a really nice job with not putting too much on him, putting him in the right situations. He's a patient kid. Marshawn is healthy, so he's back to the guy that we're used to. I'm excited about the group on the back end, and you can't stop with those 2 guys. Mikey touches the ball every practice. Noah touches the ball. He might not intercept it, but he's knocking it down. Jonathan might not have shown up in a splashy way, but they caught 1 ball on him, and that was a hell of a throw. 5 could have handed it to, I think that was Debo that caught that ball over there. It was a hell of a throw. We just get back in the huddle on that. And then Carlin, he's done a nice job of covering as well. So I've been pleased with that group.
A lot of intriguing, interesting prospects. We talked a lot about the DBs in general off the top of the show, the 415 segment, segment 2, if you are in podcast land. But none of this really works at the highest level unless Lattimore's really good. Like, he's the engine that makes the thing go the fastest. If you got to replace him, there's a bunch of stuff down chain that becomes a little dicey. So what has Joe Witt Jr. seen from the star corner acquired last year, mid-year, from the Saints, now that he's healthy?
Well, he's out there. That's the first thing, okay? He's consistently out there. We last year, he went and fought his ass off, and he didn't practice very often, and so that's hard on a player, but he's a competitor, so he was willing to go do that and not be afraid of the result. You know, he just wanted to go out there and compete and help us win. And I think people lose that sometimes when the play might not be what you desire it to be. But the dog-ass competitor you can never go away from. But to answer your question, he's a really good press player. That's who I am, who we want to be. Nice feet. He still can hold the vertical control, and he's very, very competitive. So I've been pleased with where he is.
The competitiveness was never an issue last year. It was the play. But now it seems like the health is going to allow him to play at a much higher level. And that, along with Amos's apparent ascension, Sainer still another year of experience. And I still think Will Harris is a really intriguing piece as a chess piece in that back end. Big nickel, safety, to complement Quan Martin. It's going to be really interesting to see what Joe Witt Jr. does. And I love Joe, just saying, like, this is who we want to be. Press man. Like, we want to be in your face. That is very much how they want to play defensively, an aggression that defines who they are and what it means to be a Commander. Now they take their show on the road. Commanders and Patriots doing work over the next couple days, which brings us to
number 5.
And the value of joint practices, which most teams now see as even more valuable than the preseason games themselves.
It goes both ways. So, when you go against each other so much, they start to know your calls. You start to know their calls. You get used to the releases of the receivers. You get used to the sets of the blockers. So it's just good to go against new bodies. And now you can see, all right, are we doing what we need to do, or are we just used to playing a certain group of guys? Can we play our play style on the road? Can we travel with it? So I really enjoy joint practices, and hopefully, with DQ, we can keep it clean. The league has had a couple fights the last couple years, and we don't operate that way. We're a clean unit, and so hopefully we get up there and just get good work in, get quality work from both sides.
Anthony, if you are Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, do you call a special 1-on-1, 2-on-1, maybe Adam Peters in their 3-on-1 meeting with Marshawn Lattimore and go, Marshawn, we are a clean operation. We are not going to get into fights. Please repeat after me. Marshawn, we are a clean like, not that he's the only guy, but he is the guy that has a history of fighting dudes in playoff games, nevertheless in joint practices. So I think they'll keep it clean, but I can't guarantee it.
Yeah, I think Stephon Diggs and Marshawn is definitely going to be popcorn, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely. I was trying to think who on New England. I was like, I don't know. Is he really going to fight?
Outside of Stephon, there's nobody.
Is he really going to fight Kendrick Bourne? Stephon, that's a possibility. That's definitely a possibility. Those two dudes, be a little bit volatile.
Yeah.
At times. Yeah. I will say the one thing about joint practices is there's not typically fights on the first day. It's day 2 that's a nightmare, which is why most teams now schedule 1 day of joint practices. They do one game, the 1 day, that's enough, and then they'll play the preseason game. But if you do 2 days, by the second day, guys are just sick of seeing each other, and that's when, hey, God forbid you do 3. 3 never happens.
3 is insane.
2, you're probably going to get, because like there probably will be a couple of like quick fights, but it's the brawl that you want to avoid.
Yep.
The one that spills. I mean, I was at Commanders Jets, saw them years ago, getting the hell out of Trent Williams' way as he's swinging on people. I was like, I do not need to be close to here. Yeah. All right. On we go, continuing in the pick 6 with more from Joe Witt Jr. on the joint practices and what traits he's emphasizing in camp that will ultimately define the defense.
Yeah, we talk about mind speed. So if we can think fast, we can play fast. We go hard. We don't practice necessarily long, but we go really, really hard. And so make sure we're chasing the ball. Make sure we're being physical up front. We're not letting the ball get through. And you just have to practice that way. You have to live that way. You have to. This is an intense environment that AP and DQ have set, a very competitive environment, and you have to get used to living that way. And one thing I would say is, everybody in that defensive room lives that way for real. In the past there might have been some resistors that there's nobody. I mean, everybody gets down the way that we want to get down right now. And so, and that's fun, to go. So, I'm excited about this next pocket of going against the Patriots and being where our feet are and seeing how the next couple of days go.
Some resistors in the past. Do you have any idea who that could be, Anthony?
I have no idea. None at all.
Could it perhaps rhyme with Schmon Schmallen?
Really? Hans Palins
out there resisting? Never.
Think so.
I just thought he was about lining up and kicking ass.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Somewhere in there was a resistor that's not here anymore.
Nope.
Which would make you think it's probably not someone. I mean, it could rhyme with Belante Smaller, but like Dan Quinn's had him in 78 different places.
Yep.
So I'm guessing it's not him.
Joe would coach him too.
There weren't a whole lot of other holdovers on the defense. What'd you say, Hans Palin?
Hans Palins.
The resistance is futile. But it is a good sign. A guy like Daron Payne, not saying that about him. They very much like how he gets down. But I also enjoy you have to live that way. Like, we're about it. But you can get that out of players when you don't push in an unreasonable way, right? Hey, you only have 2 reps. Well, don't jog. Like, do your work, and then we'll take care of you. Like, you can't have it always. You can't have 3-hour practices where dudes are having to run hard all the time, chase the ball. Like, if you want to establish this is who we are, you have to build it in short bursts. And I think that this staff understands that at a fundamental level, which is why the buy-in is so high and now apparently unanimous as some of the resistors are no longer in the building. Number 6, Anthony, if we could, please.
Number 6.
Joe Jr., mindset, entering training camp. What did he want to see and how is it going?
Yeah, there were a number of things. To myself, and this might sound silly, my motto, and I have it on my board right now, is let's do what's right, don't necessarily be right. As coaches, you think you have all the answers all the time, and so I'm being very cautious to listen to everybody and make sure I'm doing what's right, not necessarily trying to prove that I am right, if that makes sense. And so allowing the coaches just to coach, getting out the way, putting the scheme in, detailing it out from a schematic standpoint in the meeting rooms, and allowing them to go do it, and focus on calling it in the right situations, and then making sure that we're putting the players in the best situation, utilizing them. I don't think I did a good enough job in certain spaces with Frankie and Jeremy. We did good jobs, but the whole 11, I have to do a better job of using people's skill sets. So those were the 3 main things that I really focused on my growth.
It's something that I tried to remind folks of last year. Joe was a first-time coordinator. I thought he did a really good job of growing and getting better, being reflective in the right ways throughout the year, understanding that even though there's some things he wanted to do, he couldn't. We just had a great comment in the YouTube chat where, last year he did talk about being schematically challenged. And I think this year he's going to be able to do more of what he wants to do. But you have to ultimately balance what you want to do in your optimal circumstances with what your players are capable of. And that is something that Joe Jr. Got better and better and better at last year, and it's something that I think he'll continue to be excellent at going forward as a defensive coordinator and perhaps one day a head coach in the NFL. That is our Pick 6 at 6, biggest headlines and storylines and sound bites of the day. We'll do that again after the joint practice later on in the week. New episode of Take Command tomorrow. We'll preview the joint practice and a lot more, so make sure you're subscribed to TC wherever you get your podcasts. And when we get back, it's our weekend in review, including a big WNBA injury, a big WNBA trade, and physical contact at the U.S. Championships on the track between 2 of the sport's biggest stars. We get into all of it next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. We're streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. Saw Darius Dameron from the Grand Danny Show popping into the studio to say hello to Anthony.
Darius was in here. He was in here to inform me of some bad news, Craig.
What's the bad news, Anthony? Can you share it on the air?
Yes. Actually, I'll read it verbatim.
Oh, boy.
The headline got me, Craig. This is how it started.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with official statement from the commissioner, who is Darius Dameron.
Oh.
CGI will not return for Madden 26. That is the headline, Craig.
Is that his team?
No. CGI is the league. CGI is the league.
The much discussed league is not. Yeah, Darius, I don't know why that was breaking news to you. He's been saying that since the second the season ended. In fact, I think he was saying before.
Yeah, I didn't believe him, though. I didn't believe it until I saw it.
Darius does seem like a man of his word.
He is, I think.
Darius is definitely a man of his word. So tomorrow, right? The 7th. When's the 7th? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Thursday.
Madden drops the early preview?
Yes.
Dog, I just, by the way, franchise mode this weekend. I got to the 23rd. I'm in 2034, I think.
Good gracious.
Jaden's still my quarterback. I think we just won our 11th Super Bowl.
He said his 11th Super Bowl.
I just put together a bomb squad. I had 1 year of absolute cap hell that I had to get through and somehow still won the Super Bowl because I just went absolutely, I set an NFL record in a playoff game. I just caught fire and threw for 595 yards. I don't think I'm playing on all Madden, but I'm playing on all pro. So it's not like I probably should play. I should level up.
All pro is still hard.
Yeah, all pro is not nothing.
Yeah.
And I went bananas. And then I had a billion draft picks, tons of cap space because I got out of cap hell. And I have a goon squad.
Wow. What year? 2034?
Yeah, 2034. I think I might play this one out and then start anew on
the new Madden.
On the new Madden.
I
want to keep going. Got young talent. I got, by the way, signed like Von Miller style. I signed Micah Parsons.
Wow.
He's still going.
He's 36, I'm assuming.
Something like that. His overall's in the 80s at this point.
But he's still good and effective.
Still enough. I also just signed Lamar as my backup quarterback.
Oh wow.
He's down to a 79 overall because he's 37 years old. But I did just have a 50-yard read option keeper in the preseason that went for the house.
You're hoarding talent.
Not my fault. I managed things well. Exactly. Made a couple of big trades over the years. I got ballers, bro.
It's paid off too. 11 Super Bowls later.
You know you've been playing franchise mode for too many years when Antoine Stockton, the fake tight end you drafted in your first year, is now in his 30s.
Good gracious.
Yeah. I'm playing a lot of seasons.
That's not okay. The guys are 22, 23 when they come out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't his first. Maybe it wasn't his first one.
You're 9 years in though, so
yeah, I'm more than that. More than 9 years in because I've won 11 Super Bowls.
You said 2034, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Madden 25.
Yeah, but it starts in 2024, right? It's the 2024 season.
Oh.
So that would be year 0. Have I not? No, I've definitely lost. I think I lost the first year. I don't think I've lost since.
I don't know. We're doing bad math over here, though.
Right on cue. I got my good math out of the way on Friday when I talked about Terry's contract.
Smart.
I saved the good math for the important stuff.
Yes.
The point is, I'm excited. Now I just want to go downstairs and play Madden. Anyway, this weekend, what else happened this weekend? Craig played Madden. That's not our weekend in review, which is still, after all this time, brought to you by nobody. Yeah, we gave him a month. Still nothing. Huge WNBA news. By the way, the Mystics yesterday, frustrating loss to Atlanta, could not get stops outside of turnovers. Anthony, do you know how many defensive rebounds they had in the entire game?
8.
13.
Wow.
In 4 quarters. Not great, Bob. Didn't force enough misses. So they forced 21 or 22 turnovers. I think they forced 22. They had 21, which is obviously good on defense, bad on offense. But you gotta get stops and force misses too, and they just did not do that well enough. And when they did, they didn't grab enough of the boards, and as a result, you're not going to win that game. And it really got away from them in the second half. So we'll see how well the Mystics can play in the second half of the season. And WNBA trade deadline is coming on Thursday as well, on the 7th. And we saw a big one this weekend. Dejanay Carrington headed from Dallas to Minnesota, provide backup guard depth. But then, or maybe, I can't remember the order in which this happened, but this weekend, Nafisa Collier goes down with an ankle injury. They were up big in that game.
They were up like 50. It was like 90-49.
Yeah, it was an absolute bloodbath of a game against the Las Vegas Aces, who are just a mystifying team. I cannot believe they're this uncompetitive against the league's best teams. But it was just reported by Kendra Andrews 10 minutes ago from ESPN that Fee, the MVP frontrunner, is going to be out for 2 weeks. So that does a couple of things. One, it opens up the race to the top. Minnesota's still good, but they are definitely going to miss her. And so can the Liberty, can the Dream, can the Mercury, who have struggled a little bit in the second half of the season, can any of these teams emerge and try to retake the top spot and ultimately have home court advantage in the playoffs? Also, what does it do to the MVP race? Fee was far and away the front runner. 2 weeks is a long time to miss in a relatively short WNBA season, especially when games are pretty compact. I don't think that there's anyone else really that I think can make a case. If Atlanta goes on a run here, Alicia Gray probably would like to have a word. But the WMVP race is more open than it was, where it felt like it was a fairly shut case with Nafisa Collier. But we'll see in the back half of the season here. The Carrington trade is nice for them, gets them depth, a real defensive dog, obviously. And then they don't need to rely on her offensively at all. And then we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. Also in that trade, poor Carly Samuelson gets traded on draft night from here to Minnesota. You're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to Minnesota. I might win a title. And then you get traded again midseason to the worst team the second worst team in the league. Yikes. Speaking of the worst team in the league, the Connecticut Sun are on the verge of being sold. There was initially a report that had been agreed to. Steve Pagliuca, one of the minority investors in the Boston Celtics, is the prospective buyer. They still need to finalize things, but it looks like, my guess would be, Anthony, in 2027, the Connecticut Sun are playing in Boston, and everyone in the league should be very pro that. Nobody likes going to Connecticut. Like, this is not a team that's located in like Stores or Hartford or not Stores. Stores is kind of in the lower too. But Hartford, like a city with an airport, it's in Ucansville, Connecticut.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. No, getting to it requires like, I think like an hour, 2 hour bus ride, like from Hartford or from Boston. Like it's a no from me, dog. Yeah. So getting to a actual major city as the sport and league has far evolved past this. I'm fine with if they want to keep it in Hartford and like stay in Connecticut, especially considering the women's basketball history in Connecticut with UConn. Fine. It should be in Hartford, obviously not in like Stores where UConn's campus is, but they play a ton of games and there's a really good arena, XL Center in Hartford. I lived in Hartford for a summer, which is why I know this very random fact. So the summer I interned at ESPN. But every time they play in Boston, they sell out. They should just move to Boston. It's the right place for a team. Like Boston deserves a WNBA team. So that's my take on that. When we get back, what happens when two of the world's biggest track stars get in a physical altercation on the track? We found out this weekend. Tell you more next. The Hoffman Show. We're on the team 980. Always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and we're wrapping up here on YouTube as well at the team 980. This weekend, USA championships for track and field, and there was a bunch of great races. The men's 1500 was bananas. You had 3 world-class, accomplished Olympian, including the gold medalist Cole Hocker in that race. And they had 2 brand new dudes make the podium. Just an unbelievable field on that. It was a great race, fast race, 3:30. I mean, that's disgusting. That's that's 109 meters short of a mile, Anthony. In 3 minutes, 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Insane, man.
In 3:30, I don't think I could run 1,000 meters. Maybe if I full gunned it. But that's probably not even then. That's so gross. I mean, 3:30 for 800, so a half mile, puts you at 7-minute mile pace.
Yep.
They ran almost a full-ass mile. Yeah. So that was one of the big events. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone runs the Open 400, not her signature 400 hurdles. Wins by over a second. Goes under 49 seconds. She will compete for a world championship in the Open 400 meters, so that's very exciting. Oh God, why am I now blanking? Bullis High School.
Quincy Wilson.
Not Quincy Wilson. Messiah Russell. Yet another U.S. championship in the 100-meter hurdles. So a bunch of the U.S.'s best athletes did their thing, and that included Noah Lyles, who only ran the 200. He did not run the 100 as the defending champion in the event. He has an automatic bye from the last World Championships, even though they skip a year with the Olympic year. But he gets the automatic bye. So instead of trying to make the team on both, he just focused on his signature 200. And I believe that's how why he ultimately dropped the 100. And he wins the 200. Kenny Bednarek in the lane next to him, who last time they raced in the 200 beat Noah. Of course, that was at the Olympics. I was there on the day that Noah had COVID and still won an Olympic bronze medal. But ultimately yesterday, Noah gets the best of him and stares him down at the end. And then Kenny Bednarek doesn't like that very much and gives Noah a little shove. They have a little chat about it. Eventually they shake hands. Bednarek is basically like, bro, we're cool. Don't do that to me. That's ridiculous. Noah gave a bunch of no comments after, just literally no comment, no comment, no comment. Anthony, have you worn track spikes before in your life?
I have indeed.
Getting pushed in track spikes, not cool.
Nope.
because you are very unstable. They are designed to go really fast forward. They are not designed to kind of hop around in. Very easily could have seen a rolled ankle there. And for a world-class sprinter, a rolled ankle is a big deal. So don't love that from Kenny Bednarek. I'm not going to be like, yeah, what Noah did was amazing. But, like, also, who cares? Like, Noah is Noah. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he gets away with whatever he wants. But, like, he likes to celebrate a little bit. And staring him down, like, to the victor go the spoils in that particular case. I think Bednarek's shove is ridiculous. I'm glad it didn't evolve into anything more. I hope that those two, because I like both of them, like, work it out. And there's a big kumbaya moment. But I think that was within the realm of respectful celebration, even if it was directed at Kenny. And I understand Kenny's point, too. Like, okay, cool. Like, I went out and won the 100. You were fresh. Like, you should beat me, whatever. But, like, he did. He won. And you have to deal with it and just be like, congratulations. Like, when you lose, you lost.
Yeah, I didn't know they had, a lot of beef behind the scenes as well, though. That's what it sort of kind of seems like.
That's the thing is, like, I don't think they do. Like, Kenny's comments made it seem like they don't. That, like, they're cool. There is no beef. Like, sprinters like to talk. If you've watched Sprint on Netflix, like, everybody talks. There's a confidence and a brashness that you have to be a sprinter. But
yeah,
I don't think that theirs ever got anything more than just, like, friendly competitive. I got the sense those two got along pretty well.
I don't know. Based off the post-race, I guess, interview, it seemed like they had more to talk about after the race.
Well, I think part of the reason they have more to talk about is because they are cool. And it's hey, we got to talk this out because that ain't right. We ain't going to do this. At least in Kenny's mind. And I think in Noah's mind, he's like, there ain't nothing to talk about. I won.
Yeah.
How's the back of my singlet look?
Hey, yo.
What's our out time, Anthony?
56.
Okay. We got time for a quick real things thing. Maybe.
Real things.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Set into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
All right, pick a good short one, Anthony. What do you got?
All right, we just got one. We got Jaden. He admitted last year that he played through broken ribs on his Hail Mary throw against the Bears.
Nah, this was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. I was at home watching this one.
Was that 65 in the air?
Nah, you launched that one. Leave. I ain't gonna lie, that's like a dream.
Yeah,
that's like a Hail Mary?
Like a Hail Mary.
Oh, yeah. That's a dream. To win a game like that?
Tom Ham versus Caleb.
In the all black. That's hard. With a broke rib.
Damn.
Jaden with Jettis, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley at the Madden release. Woo. You with the broken rib. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one and keep your ribs intact.